It was the summer of 2015 in Bozeman, Montana, when Lisa discovered that betrayal had a cost. A cost measured not in guilt, but in something far darker and more punishing. Lisa Jensen had always been the woman who turned heads. With her radiant smile and carefully curated life, she appeared to be the perfect wife to her husband, Daniel, a hard-working man who loved her more than anything. But perfection was an illusion Lisa had long since grown bored of. For months, she had been meeting a man named Travis in secret. He was dangerous, exciting, the opposite of Daniel's predictable loyalty. The affair started as a thrill, an escape from her dull routine. But things had taken a strange turn when Travis had begun speaking of fate, of consequences. His obsessions unsettled her, though she never let it show. One night, while Daniel was away on a business trip, Lisa met Travis at a remote cabin just outside town. The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, and a strange hush had fallen over the woods. The wind barely moved, as if the night itself was holding its breath. As she lay next to Travis, his fingers tracing idle patterns along her skin, he whispered, "Do you believe in karma, Lisa?" She laughed, dismissing the question. "I believe we make our own fate." His eyes darkened. "No one escapes their sins." Lisa felt a chill crawl up her spine. She pulled away, suddenly uncomfortable. "Let's not talk about this." Travis always smiled, but something in his gaze made her shudder. The following day, Lisa returned home, eager to shake off the unease. But something felt wrong. The house was too quiet. The walls seemed to press in. That night, as she lay in bed alone, she heard whispers faint and indecipherable, like voices carried by the wind. Over the next few days, things escalated. Shadows seemed to move in the corners of her vision. Objects shifted when she wasn't looking. And then came the nightmares, vivid, suffocating dreams where she was drowning in black water while unseen hands dragged her down. Lisa tried to convince herself it was stress. Guilt, perhaps. But deep down, she knew better. One evening, as she showered, the water turned ice-cold without warning. She gasped and reached for the handle, but when she looked up, a message had been drawn into the steam on the glass door. "You know what you did." Her breath hitched. "Daniel," she called, even though she knew he wasn't home. Silence answered. Lisa spent that night with every light on, but no amount of artificial brightness could keep the darkness at bay. Something was with her. Watching. Waiting. Days passed, and the occurrences grew worse. The whispers turned into wails. Doors slammed on their own. And then, one night, she woke up paralyzed, an unseen weight pressing down on her chest. A voice, raw and full of malice, hissed in her ear. "You can't hide from justice." Lisa screamed, and suddenly she could move again. She bolted out of bed, heart hammering, gasping for breath. The room was empty, but the feeling of unseen eyes never left her. She became desperate. She tried to reach Travis, but his number had been disconnected. The cabin where they met was abandoned, like he had never existed at all. Lisa knew then that she was alone in this. And whatever was coming for her would not stop. One night, as she sat curled up on the couch, clutching a glass of wine and shaking hands, the television flickered to life. Static filled the screen, and then an image appeared, grainy, black and white. It was her. Lying in bed with Travis. The footage was shaky, distorted, but unmistakable. Lisa's stomach twisted. No, no, no. The screen went dark. And then, slowly, a new image emerged. Lisa. Mangled. Eyes lifeless. A grotesque mockery of the woman she was. A scream bubbled in her throat as the lights in the house flickered wildly. A chilling wind swept through the room, and suddenly, she was no longer alone. Figures stood in the shadows. Dozens of them, their hollow eyes fixed on her. And leading them was Daniel. Or what was left of him. His face was a mask of decay, his body broken, as though he had been through unspeakable torment. He raised a rotting hand and pointed at her. "You thought you could betray me and walk away?" His voice was a guttural rasp, thick with something ancient and unforgiving. Lisa stumbled back, but there was nowhere to run. The figures closed in, their whispers turning to deafening shrieks. Pain lanced through her body as unseen hands grasped her, pulling, tearing. The world spun, her vision darkening as the voices consumed her. When Daniel's face was the last thing she saw, Lisa understood. Karma had come. And it was far crueler than she had ever imagined.